Beneath the Veil of Destiny, this is a fictional historical novel and not based on real events. In the waning light of an August afternoon, as the cobblestone streets of Ashfield nestled on the edge of the vast and enigmatic Ardennes Valley began to stir with the murmur of evening prayers and hushed secrets, a tapestry of lives intertwined beneath a soaring sky. The city, an exquisite mélange of ancient stone and new ambitions, was at once a cradle of old traditions and the arena for emerging modernity. It was here, amidst the hallowed corridors of noble estates and the humble dwellings of common folk, that three distinct narratives took their form, destined to converge in an unpredictable moment of destiny. John Hathaway, a man of sturdy build and quiet resolve, moved with deliberate purpose through the narrow alleyways that connected the heart of Ashfield to its outskirts. Born into a family of modest means but possessing an unyielding sense of honor, John had long harbored dreams of justice and reform. His eyes, dark and introspective, betrayed the weight of a secret, that he was intricately connected to a hidden past of political subterfuge and lost love. His journey, a mix of personal redemption and the struggle against formidable forces of corruption, was marked by the whispered conspiracies of the ruling elite who secretly manipulated the destiny of their realm with a callous disregard for the common man. Not far from the winding lanes that John tread was the ornate residence of the Pembroke family, resplendent with ivy and the echoes of elegance. Elizabeth Pembroke, graceful and intelligent, was revered not only for her refined manners and beauty but also for an inner strength that belied her tender years. With chestnut hair that shimmered like autumn leaves and eyes full of soft determination, Elizabeth lived her life amid delicate traditions, yet her heart fiercely yearned for something beyond the gilded cage of expectation. In the silent hours of the night, when the moon cast a silver glow upon the sprawling gardens, she would slip away to the ancient oak-lined paths, seeking solace in nature and the hope of a love that transcended boundaries. Far to the north, in the bustling harbour town of Quinley, a fictional yet unmistakably authentic coastal enclave where sailors spun tales of distant wars and whispered of hidden treasures, David Reynolds, a dashing yet troubled nobleman, struggled to piece together the fragments of his identity. Raised in the shadow of scandal after a family betrayal that tore apart his lineage, David had dedicated his life to seeking truth and reclaiming honor. His path was fraught with peril as he navigated treacherous political intrigues orchestrated by ambitious rivals and despotic lords. With piercing blue eyes that mirrored the stormy seas of his homeland, he embarked on a quest, unaware that his destiny was intimately bound to those of John and Elizabeth. One crisp evening, as the amber glow of twilight melded with the cool blue of ensuing night, the lives of these three souls began to converge. In a secluded courtyard behind an ancient abbey on the outskirts of Ashfield, John found himself in quiet conversation with a mysterious informant whose identity was veiled by shadow and voice. "The Crown's decrees are but whispers in the halls of deceit," the informant murmured, his tone pressing the urgency of a suppressed revolution. With a clenched fist and guarded eyes, John listened intently, aware that every carefully chosen word was a spark in the tinderbox of political ambition. At that very moment, in a refined salon within the Grand Pembroke Manor, Elizabeth entertained guests at a lavish soirée. The air was filled with the soft strains of a string quartet, and delicate fragrances wafted amid the perfumed laughter. Yet amidst the gaiety, Elizabeth's mind wandered to Thomas Drake, an enigmatic historian with a curious past. Thomas, whose love for the written word was matched only by his passion for uncovering forgotten truths about the realm, had recently arrived in Ashfield to research the ancient chronicles hidden within the abbey's vaults. Their fleeting glances and subtle smiles hinted at an affection that promised both tenderness and adventure, a romance that could easily defy the expectations of polite society. Many miles away, along the ragged cliffs overlooking the turbulent Atlantic, David Reynolds surveyed the horizon from the ramparts of Quinlea's ancient fortress. Here, amid the salt-laden winds and the rhythmic crashing of waves, his thoughts churned like the restless ocean. The scars of betrayal ran deep, yet within his heart there burned an undying resolve to restore the honor of his ancestors. He recalled vivid memories of a childhood interrupted by the intrigues of power, where his once united family was splintered by ambition and greed. Now, with the political landscape shifting like the tides, David vowed that both his destiny and the fortunes of his lineage would be reclaimed through sacrifice, wisdom, and perhaps an unforeseen alliance with kindred spirits. As spring blossomed into summer, the filament of fate tightened. John's clandestine meetings deepened into an intricate web of conspiracy, exposing the hidden machinations of those who sought to control the monarchy behind closed doors. Late one night, beneath a starlit canopy and away from prying ears, John met with a trusted friend and former mentor, Sir Robert Langley. Over flickering candlelight in a forgotten cellar beneath an abandoned theatre, Sir Robert confided, "Your path, dear John, is as perilous as it is righteous. The crown may wear a mask of benevolence, but its heart harbors ambition more ruthless than the winter's frost." John's resolve hardened as he vowed that justice would prevail for the suffering of his people. In the gilded corridors of the Pembroke estate, Elizabeth's internal conflict was mirrored by the subtle shifts in her heart. One autumn evening, while strolling beneath a canopy of russet leaves, she encountered Thomas at a secluded villa on the estate's edge. Beneath the ancient archway, their eyes met with a shared recognition of warmth and understanding. "Elizabeth," Thomas said in a voice that trembled with both hope and trepidation, "the chronicles I seek are not merely records of events, but legacies of the spirit. Perhaps, in our quest for truth, our hearts can identify the secrets of a forgotten era." Their conversation, tender and earnest, unfolded against the symphony of rustling leaves and distant church bells, weaving a romance that promised the triumph of love over convention. Meanwhile, David's arduous journey brought him into contact with influential figures in the rugged corridors of power along the Quinley docks. Among them was Lady Catherine Ellis, a formidable widow whose intellect and resilience rendered her both an object of admiration and a political force in her own right. In clandestine meetings held at midnight in the shadow of weathered warehouses, Catherine revealed the extent of the aristocratic plots that sought to dismantle the fragile peace that held the region together. "The truth, dear David," she confided in a whispered urgency over the clamor of distant seafarers, "lies not only in what is hidden in the archives but in the hearts of those who dare to challenge tyranny. Rise, and let us rebuild what was once torn asunder." David, his heart both burdened and buoyed by her words, discovered in her a partner who nurtured his quest for redemption and reformation. As the days unfolded like pages in an illuminated manuscript, the tensions of political intrigue coalesced with the tender intricacies of budding romance. Whispers of rebellion, fueled by grim betrayals and impassioned speeches in shadowed corridors, spread like wildfire through the streets of Ashfield. In the smoky ambience of a discreet tavern near the market square, John and a coterie of rebels deliberated over ancient maps and secret missives, each letter a beacon of hope. "We must rally those who cherish freedom, not just in word but in deed," John implored, his voice resonating with the determination of a man who had seen both despair and the light of possibility. His comrades, young scholars, weathered veterans, and impassioned citizens, nodded in unison, their eyes reflecting a shared dream of transformation. In the mellifluous quietude of the Pembroke Gardens, Elizabeth and Thomas found themselves ensnared by the magnetic pull of their emotions. Their secret rendezvous beneath the ancient willow tree, a living testament to 1,000 whispered promises, became a sanctuary away from the rigors of courtly expectation and political intrigue. "Thomas, in your eyes I see the reflection of a brighter future, a future where truth and love stand triumphant," Elizabeth confessed softly, her voice trembling with both hope and sorrow for the sacrifices that may be demanded. Thomas, whose gaze held the weight of unspoken oaths, replied, "And in your heart I perceive the fortitude to challenge a world steeped in shadows. Together, we shall kindle a light that transforms despair into hope." Their dialogue, interlaced with the cadence of shared dreams, kindled an unyielding bond that would define the course of their intertwined destinies. Across the windswept moors that bordered Quinley, as twilight bled into the dusky horizons of the rugged north, David and Lady Catherine alongside a discreet band of reformers began to marshal the scattered resistance against those who would imprison the realm in perpetual ice. Their meetings in secret caverns, deep within the rocky recesses of ancient cliffside fortresses, were both cerebral and impassioned, blending strategy with unfettered idealism. "Our enemy thrives on division and fear," David declared one fierce night, his silhouette illuminated by the glimmer of a solitary lantern. Yet, here in these hallowed moments, we are united by the common flame of courage and hope. His words, resounding against the cold stone walls, stirred the hearts of all present, each resolved to stand as a bulwark against the creeping tyranny. Over the ensuing months, the interplay of devotion and duty wove an intricate pattern throughout the lives of our three heroes. John's secret missions led him deep into the labyrinth of political conspiracies, where every whispered conversation and furtive glance concealed a potential revolution. In a clandestine meeting that took place in the subterranean corridors of the old abbey, John deciphered a cryptic message hinting at a grand assembly of dissidents, an event that promised to alter the power dynamics of the realm forever. As conspiracies unfurled like the delicate petals of a night-blooming flower, John's inner resolve grew ever stronger, sealed by the knowledge that his personal sacrifices would serve a greater cause. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's growing love for Thomas was challenged by the constraints imposed by her aristocratic obligations. Her family, though progressive in silent support, could not fully comprehend the stirrings of her heart. A bittersweet tension hung between duty and desire as she balanced the expectations of courtly life with an ineffable yearning for genuine companionship. One rainy afternoon, as silver droplets danced upon the ancient stone balustrade of the Pembroke veranda, she confided in her closest confidant, Miss Eleanor Grey, "I fear that in sacrificing my heart, I may lose the only truth I have ever known. Yet love, in its purest form, calls me to risk everything." Miss Grey, ever the embodiment of maternal solace, replied, "My dear, the path of love is fraught with peril, but it is also the sole beacon that guides us to our truest selves. Trust in the gentle strength within you." As the clandestine meetings and secret liaisons unfolded in hushed tones, David's campaign to rebuild his family legacy gathered momentum. While fending off the treachery of those who once tore his lineage apart, he discovered unexpected allies in local scholars and artisans who had long been marginalized by the opulent yet indifferent elite. In a small, dew-drenched village outside Quinley, David encountered a former archivist named Samuel Price, whose meticulous records and steadfast memory chronicled the long-forgotten customs of their people. History, Samuel intoned in a measured and mellifluous tone, is not merely a record of the past, it is the heartbeat of the present. Let us restore our heritage, and in doing so, you will restore not only your honor but that of an entire lineage. This dialogue, filled with quiet resolve, emboldened David to press on even when the mounting peril of political retribution loomed large. As summer faded into a restless autumn, each of the three plot lines accelerated toward an inevitable collision. In the shadow of a grand assembly that gathered secret revolutionaries in an abandoned manor hall on the outskirts of Ashfield, John prepared to relay his intelligence to the insurgent leaders. The grand hall, once adorned with lavish celebrations and stately portraits of long-vanished nobility, now served as the stage for a reckoning that would shake the foundations of the oppressive regime. With a steady voice, John announced, "The hour has come to unmask those who hide behind the guise of legitimacy. Our strength lies in unity, and in unity we shall demand a just order for all." The murmurs of approval from the gathered assembly were both a hymn of hope and a pledge of defiance, as each conspirator resolved to forge a future unshackled by injustice. Simultaneously, in the quiet sanctum of the Pembroke Library, a refuge filled with musty tomes and the soft glow of twilight streaming through arched windows, Elizabeth and Thomas pored over ancient manuscripts that chronicled a lost era of enlightened kings and benevolent rule. Their fingers traced the faded ink as though unearthing the fragile truths that lay buried beneath layers of time. "These chronicles," Thomas observed thoughtfully, "speak of a reign not dictated by fear, but by compassion. Could it be that the future we seek lies hidden in the annals of our past?" Elizabeth, her eyes luminous with quiet determination, replied, "Perhaps our love is a mirror, a reflection of that bygone era, urging us to reclaim a world where hearts speak louder than tyranny." Their dialogue, a tender duet between intellect and passion, underscored a hopeful vision for a realm where the forces of compassion and truth could prevail. In the rugged wilderness beyond Quinley, as David and Lady Catherine led a motley band of insurgents toward a final confrontation with the power brokers of the realm, every step was a testament to resilience. Along a narrow mountain pass shrouded in swirling mists, the group paused to catch their breath and steel themselves for the impending battle of ideals. "Every scar we bear is a reminder of the sacrifices made in pursuit of freedom," David declared, his voice echoing amidst the sheer rock faces. "Today, we embrace our destiny, for only through unity can the world be remade in the image of justice and mercy." Lady Catherine, ever steadfast, added, "Let our courage be the lamp that dispels the darkness. We stand as guardians of hope." With these stirring words, the disparate voices of the rebellion merged into a single, defiant roar. In the days that followed, as the assembly convened amidst a rare confluence of political upheaval and personal revelation, the threads of John's, Elizabeth's, and David's lives inexorably intertwined. The grand hall of the clandestine assembly in Ashfield, once the scene of furtive plotting, became the crucible where visions of reform, romance, and redemption met head-on with the forces of entrenched oppression. John, standing before a sea of impassioned faces, recounted the intelligence gathered from hidden corridors and secret meetings. As he spoke, the air seemed to shimmer with the promise of a reborn society, one guided by the twin beacons of truth and compassion. In the midst of this fervor, Elizabeth arrived unexpectedly at the assembly, her presence a quiet yet potent symbol of love transcending social boundaries. As she stepped into the light, eyes meeting those of encouragers and skeptics alike, Thomas followed closely behind. Their arrival was met with murmurs of approval and admiration, for in their union, many saw the embodiment of a renewed spirit, one that could pave the way for an era of enlightened leadership and heartfelt reform. "Let us cast aside the chains of old prejudices," Elizabeth declared with a gentle yet unwavering authority. "Together, our hearts and minds can lift this land to a higher realm of dignity and respect." Her words resonated with the assembled assembly, weaving a spell of optimism that challenged the grim certainties of the past. As the tempest of revelations and newfound allegiances gathered strength, David, now at the vanguard of the insurgency, advanced with an unbreakable resolve. With Lady Catherine and his loyal followers flanking him, he led the charge into the heart of the enemy's stronghold, a palatial estate that had long concealed the machinations of power behind velvet drapes and gilded masks. In a moment of transcendent clarity amid the roar of battle and clashing ideals, David recognized that the struggle was not solely for his own redemption but for the reclamation of a collective honor eroded by years of tyranny. "For the sake of our future," he shouted over the tumult, "we must stand firm. Our unity shall be the cornerstone of a new dawn, a dawn where every voice is heard, and every heart is cherished." His cry, echoing with the passion of unyielding conviction, spurred his comrades onward. In the ultimate climax, as the three plot lines converged on that fateful day when the shadows of oppression were finally dispelled by the light of unyielding hope, the Grand Assembly, the private councils of love, and the rout of treacherous regimes melded into one singular symphony of liberation. In a breathtaking sequence of events, John's carefully orchestrated network of rebel operatives, Elizabeth and Thomas's impassioned stand for a compassionate future, and David's fearless charge against a corrupt establishment collided. The echoes of passionate dialogue and the percussion of resolve filled the corridors of the ancient hall. As rulers hidden in secrecy and their retainers trembled before the rising tide of truth, the spirit of the people united and virtuous rose as an unstoppable force. The moment was as if the heavens themselves had conspired to cast aside the illusory veils of power, to reveal a long-awaited justice that would usher in an era where political intrigue gave way to lasting peace, and guarded hearts finally found the courage to love freely. In the aftermath of that historic turning point, the realm of Ashfield and its surrounding lands began to emerge from the long night of subterfuge and suffering. The old order was dismantled piece by piece, replaced by a new beginning in which compassion, honesty, and love reigned supreme. John, his purpose fulfilled in having kindled the flame of hope in the hearts of many, retreated into modest obscurity, content in the knowledge that his sacrifices had paved the way for a just future. Elizabeth and Thomas, their romance now fortified by the crucible of shared struggle, continued to nurture the seeds of intellectual inquiry and gentle reform. Their love became a living testament to the transformative power of hope and kindness. David, heralded as a hero of a new age by those who had once lived in the shadow of despotism, embraced his destiny with measured grace, dedicating his life to rebuilding a society founded upon fairness, trust, and the intrinsic dignity of every individual. As the years passed, the lessons of that tumultuous era endured, etched into the collective memory of the land like a series of indelible inscriptions upon ancient stone. The story of how disparate souls, each burdened by pain, yet buoyed by an unwavering hope for a better tomorrow, found themselves drawn together in a common quest for truth and justice, became a cherished legend. It was told and retold around flickering fires, in quiet libraries, and within the hearts of those who believed that even the darkest of times could be illuminated by the simple but profound act of love. In a world reawakened to the promise of renewal, the memory of those turbulent days was celebrated not with bitterness or regret, but with an abiding gratitude for the realization that the bonds of fellowship and romance could indeed forge a new destiny beyond the constraints of political intrigue. And so, as the sun dappled the cobblestone streets of a reformed Ashfield with the tender glow of a hopeful morning, the legacy of John, Elizabeth, Thomas, David, and all those who had contributed to the tapestry of change echoed through generations. Their lives, interwoven with the threads of sacrifice, resilience, and tender love, served as an enduring reminder that even in times of tumult, the human spirit was capable of extraordinary transformation. The realm of Ashfield had, through the valor of its people and the transformative power of compassion, transcended the old order to embrace a future bright with promise. In the gentle cadence of community laughter, the soft rustle of ancient trees, and the confident stride of citizens who had reclaimed their destiny, the world found solace and joy, a union of hearts and ideals that would forever illuminate the path to a better tomorrow. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe to my channel and check out the description to find out how you can support my work.